Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. In the previous class, we were discussing about various instruments through which the Parliament exercise control over the executive. And in this regard, we have discussed all these points: deliberation and discussion, approval or refusal of laws, financial control, and we were discussing this no confidence motion. So today we will start our discussion with this no confidence motion. As we all know that the parliamentary system of government is based on the collective responsibility of the executive towards the legislature, and in this context the executive, the prime minister with its with his cabinet members is able to hold the post only up to only when he is able to gain the support of the majority in the Lok Sabha. So, in this way, the parliament has a very effective control over the executive. The tenure of the prime minister and his cabinet of ministers, the tenure of the prime minister and his council of ministers depends upon the support of the majority in the Lok Sabha. And whenever, if any time the house shows its no confidence, it passes the motion of no confidence, and if it passed by the majority of the house, then in that case the government has to resign from its post. So as long as the government has the support of its party or coalition of party that have a majority in the Lok Sabha, the power of the House to dismiss the government is fictional rather than real. Because the government is there, and the government is there only because it has the support of its party, or if the government is formed by coalition of parties, and if the coalition of parties, the members of the coalition are showing their support to the government, then there is then the Lok Sabha cannot do anything. Okay, the problem only arises when the government goes in minority. And this kind of situation arose after 1989, when we saw that several governments have been forced to resign because it was not able to have the support of the majority in the house. Or many time it happens that a running government has to resign because the government is coalition government. Government is having the support of a coalition of parties, and any one of the constituent party stops giving its support to the government, then in that case the government comes in minority and the government has to resign. Or many times it also happens that after the election, no party has been able to get majority of the seats in the Lok Sabha, and then some parties have made a coalition, and now they are claiming that they have the support of the majority. Then in that case what happens that the whoever is elected as the leader of the majority party, that is coalition, whoever is elected as the leader of the coalition government, that is prime minister, he has to seek the trust vote of the house, and if he is not able to seek the trust vote of the house, then he has to resign. So in this way we see that the tenure of the prime minister and his ministers depend on the support of the majority in the Lok Sabha. In this way, Lok Sabha has a very important command, very important control over the executive. And in this regard, the Rajya Sabha has no power because the Rajya Sabha cannot. start a no confidence vote of no confidence motion. It can only be started in the Lok Sabha because the government, because the prime minister is required to have the support of the majority in the Lok Sabha only, not in the Rajya Sabha. So we see that the parliament has so many instruments through which it controls the executive, and in this way, by controlling the executive, it ensures a more responsive government. Responsive government means the government which respond to the needs of the people, to the demands of the people. The government, here we means government, by government we means the prime minister and his ministers. The prime minister and his ministers had to be responsive. They can't ignore the demand of the people, they can't ignore the needs of the people, because there is representatives of the people are there, who is present in the parliament, who are there to control the executive. They won't allow the executive, they won't allow the prime minister and his ministers to be unresponsive. It is the duty of the parliamentarians to put pressure on the prime minister and his ministers so that it should work according to the need of the people. So it is important for this purpose that there is adequate time at the disposal of the House. The members are interested in discussion and participate effectively, and there is willingness to compromise amongst the government and the opposition. So it is very important that the House has so much time. Discuss it discuss on every matters, whatever national or international or local issues, all are discussed in a very deliberate manner, in a very detailed manner, and all the members of the parliament, they participate effectively, and everyone try to have a smooth functioning of the government. In the last 2 decades, there has been a gradual decline in sessions of the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies and time spent on debates. Moreover, the House of the Parliament have been plagued by absence of quorum, boycott of sessions by members of opposition, which deprive the House the power to control the executive through discussions. So now, what we experienced in the last 20 years, that there is duration of the session is declining in both at both the level, at the center level as well as at the state level, and the time which is spent on debate, that is also declining. And many times we experience that the opposition, in order to show its resentment and in order to show its dissatisfaction with the government, boycott the session of the Lok Sabha or state legislative assembly. And by this boycotting of the session, what happens that the normal proceeding, all the proceeding of the House is suspended, and in this way the House is not able to discuss so many important issues. House is not able to do its functions properly. So in nowadays we can say that the importance of the Lok Sabha and the legislative assemblies has become less, because the members are not paying attention to their function in a responsible manner. So this is the decline in the power of the legislature. Now we will come to another segment, and that is what do the committees of the parliament do. In this segment, we will study about the committees. Committees are very important feature of the legislative process of the parliament. Committees are appointed by the parliament only, okay, and the function which is done by the committee is not only for the lawmaking. In the lawmaking process, we have come across this committees. We have known that there are committees are appointed, and these committees discuss the minute details of the bill, and then it present the recommendations, whatever is suggestions, okay, and then these recommendations and suggestions are discussed in the house, and most of the time what happens that the house accept the recommendation or suggestions of the committees. So we are knowing that the committees play an important role in lawmaking, but it's not only that the committees play a role in lawmaking only. There are many other businesses in which the committee help, uh, because we know the parliament meets only uh, two times. There should not be in a year the parliament meets for twice. So because in our constitution there is a provision that there should not be gap of more than 6 months time between two sessions of the parliament. So mostly our parliament meets two times, and it has very limited time. The time is very limited, and the agenda, the functions are so many. So in this what happens that the legislature has a scarcity of time, and in this time the legislature is supposed to do so many functions. Besides lawmaking, it has to also do so many things, like there are demands for the grants then by various ministries demand for grants. Then uh, there is also need to look into the expenditure which is done by various departments. Then there is corruption cases also there. So investigation of corruption cases, that is also an important function of parliament. So parliament cannot do all these functions uh, mm, in that all the members of the parliament are doing the function, all these functions collectively. This is not possible because the members are very much in a very number of the members are very large. 543 members are there in the Lok Sabha. So if all the members are engaged in such activities, then there will be lack of coordination and coherence. So and besides this, there is another problem that the functions are so many functions are to be done by the parliament in a very limited time span. So what happens that the parliament has started the system of committees. Committee system has been started by the parliament, and through this what happened that in this we will underline some sentences. These committees play a vital role not merely in lawmaking but also in the day-to-day business of the house. So for this purpose what happened that the committee system has been evolved in Indian uh, parliamentary system. And since 1983 what happened that the system of standing committees started. And what is this standing committee? What do you mean by standing committee? Standing committees are those committees which are always existing. It's not that they have been appointed for a particular purpose, for a particular function, and after the fulfillment, after the accomplishment of that function, that committee will be abolished. No, these are standing committee. Means they are always there. they are not appointed and then they are dismissed. No, no such thing is done. These are standing committee, and it started from 1983. Okay, so at present there are over 20 such departmentally related committee. What do you mean by departmentally related committees? The standing committees are related to one or the other departments of the गवर्नमेंट, और उनका काम क्या होता है, उस डिपार्टमेंट से रिलेटेड वॉट एवर मैटर इज देयर, वॉट एवर इशू इज देयर regarding the department, they take up that matter. So in this what happens, the function of the committee, function of the parliament is becomes more effective. It works its it performs, it functions in a more efficient manner, and it saves the time of the parliament also. So there are 20 such departmentally related committees, and standing committee supervise the work of various department. Whatever work is being done by various department, it is supervised by the standing committee. It also supervises the budgets of different departments, whatever expenditure is done by the departments, and the bills that come up in the house relating to the department. That particular department, these standing committees are departmentally related committees. So whatever bill is coming up in the house, uh, which are related to a particular department, तो जो स्टैंडिंग कमिटी उस डिपार्टमेंट से रिलेटेड होगा, दैट स्टैंडिंग कमिटी विल undergo all type of debate and discussion on this bill. So in this way our standing committee works, and because of these standing committees, the quality of the work of the parliament has improved a lot, and time has also been saved. Now there are some other type of committees. These are called joint parliamentary committee. Joint parliamentary committee means in these committees members are appointed from both the houses of the parliament, from the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha also. Okay, and these JPC, Joint Parliamentary Committees, can be set up for the for a particular bill, for the purpose of discussing a particular bill. uh, किसी एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कोई बिल है, उस बिल पे डिस्कशन के लिए जेपीसी कैन बी अपॉइंटेड. देन जेपीसी कैन ऑल्सो बी appointed for the purpose of investigating financial irregularities. Whatever financial, if there is any financial irregularity is charged against any department, then it may be investigated by the joint parliamentary committee. And this committee system is very much important for the functioning of the parliament, because it has reduced the burden on the parliament. Many important bills have been referred to the committees, uh, because committees are relatively small committees. In parliament there are more than 500 members, in committees there are 20 or 30 members. So the discussion in the committee is more fruitful. Okay, so the parliament has whenever the committee, after discussion and debate on a particular bill, whatever recommendation and suggestions are put by the committee, the parliament mostly approve the recommendation. There are few occasions when the parliament has the house has not accepted the recommendations of the committee, but in most of the time the parliament accepts the recommendation of the committee. So we can see that parliament is very important role, has a very important role to play. And in the words of Anvi Gadgil, we can say we can see his words. The nature of the legislature is such that there are restrictions only so far as procedure is concerned. But in substance, there is no restrictions, no limitation on the sovereignty of the legislature or the parliament. So, our constitution has imposed many restrictions regarding the process कि मनी बिल है तो इट कैन नॉट बी स्टार्टेड इन द राज्यसभा इफ ordinary bill hai to it will be passed from one house, then it go to another house. If there is deadlock, then there will be joint session. After the passing of the bill from both the houses, it will go to president for his approval. So all these are kind of limitation, and these limitations are only regarding the procedure कि what procedure the parliament is supposed to follow. It has to follow. It cannot ignore the procedure. It cannot कि वो procedure को नहीं माने, ऐसा नहीं कर सकती. It has to obey the constitution. It has to follow the procedure which is adopted by the constitution. But there is no limitation on the powers of the parliament. No bill can become law unless and until both the houses of the parliament passes it. No government will be able to enjoy the power. No prime minister with his council of ministers will be able to enjoy the power unless and until it has the support of the majority in the Lok Sabha. So, all this proves the sovereignty of the parliament. Our parliament is a sovereign body. Uh, no other institution or organ of the government is above the parliament. Parliament is supreme. It is the view of N.V. Gadgil. Actually, we have seen in that chapter which was dealing with executive that uh, in present day what we find that the executive has become more powerful because the executive has the support of the legislature, and executive has the support of the majority in the Lok Sabha, and by the by because of this support of a majority, the executive becomes very powerful. So nowadays uh, the executive has become more powerful than the parliament. So now we are coming to another segment, and this is how does the parliament regulate itself? In the when we were started our discussion regarding the controlling of the executive, the parliamentary control of the executive, we have discussed that member of the parliament has unlimited power to speak whatever it wants to speak because he is the representative of the people, isn't it? And he is there in the house in order to protect the interest of the people. So the members of the parliament has been given some privilege. No action can be taken against a member of the parliament on the ground whatever he has said in the house. But there is one authority who can take action against the members of the parliament if they breach their privilege, and this is the presiding officer of the legislature. He is there to regulate the functioning of the parliament. He is there to maintain discipline and order in the house. So, now we will see how this presiding officer of the legislature becomes the final authority in matters of regulating the business of the legislature. And it is very much important that whatever discussion and debate is going on in the parliament must be in order. Because if lot of disorder is there during the debate and discussion in the parliament, then that debate and discussion will be useless. There will be no use of that debate and discussion. If the parliamentarians are behaving in indecent manner, if they are not behaving in a proper manner. So, this is very much important to maintain discipline inside the house, and all these responsibility lies with the presiding officer of the legislature. So, now in this regard, a very important bill is to be a very important amendment needs to be discussed, and that is anti-defection law. Anti-defection law, what happened, mm, that I have told you earlier, 1989 is the very important mm, year for the politics of India, because before 1989 we saw that there was dominance of Congress was there, and with some gaps, almost all the time Congress was in power. Not all the time, but most of the time. There were gaps after 1977. There were some gaps, but most of the years it was the rule of the Congress. But after 1989, things started to change completely, and India went into an era of coalition government. And when there was single party dominance was there, at that time defection of the members was not a grave matter. And any बहुत ज़्यादा इस प्रॉब्लम पे ध्यान नहीं दिया गया till 1980s. And parliamentarians used to move from one party to another party according to their opportunity, according to their self interest. They used to win the election on the ticket of a particular party, and after winning the election, many times it happened that they leave that party uh, and join new party. So this was not paid too much attention, but from 1980, starting from 1970, after 1977, the problem became grave, because this situation was arising, was causing too much instability in the government. So it was considered that there is need of some anti-defection law, and in this regard, 52nd Amendment Act was passed in 1985. And in this 52nd Amendment Act, what happened that defection was made illegal if any no member of parliament can leave his or her uh, मेंबरशिप फ्रॉम विच पार्टी, जिस पार्टी से उन्हें टिकट मिला, जिस पार्टी के टिकट पे उन्होंने इलेक्शन को विन किया, उस पार्टी को छोड़ के वो दूसरी पार्टी में नहीं जा सकते थे. एंड देन 91st अमेंडमेंट हुआ इन द ईयर 2003, and this 91st amendment again strengthened the anti-defection act of एंटी डिफेक्शन अमेंडमेंट एक्ट ऑफ 1985. 1985 में जो एंटी डिफेक्शन का जो के लिए जो अमेंडमेंट लाया गया था, उसको और भी ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग बनाता है 91st अमेंडमेंट. और इस 91st अमेंडमेंट में ये कहा गया कि इफ it is proved that a member has defected, then such member loses the membership of the house. Okay, so if a person is defected if a member of parliament has left the party from which he has won the election and he has joined some other party, and if this defection has been proved, there is evidence against there is evidence of this act, then what will happen, that member will lost his membership of the house. Okay, not only this, such a person will also be disqualified from holding any political office like ministership. You will have to think over it कि why members used to defect, क्योंकि जिस पार्टी से उन्हें टिकट मिला उस पार्टी से वो जीत तो गए, बट दैट पार्टी could not win the majority of the seats in the Lok Sabha. So now a particular member who has won the election, but now he will not be able to be in the ruling party because his party has lost the election. So now, in search of power, in lust of power, he defects. He changes his party. He shifts from his original party to that party, which is the majority party in the Lok Sabha. So this is the norm. This happens. This happens in the earlier time. Nowadays, this does not could not be happen because of anti-defection law. Because of anti-defection law, it is not possible, because if a member defects from his party, then he will lose his membership. And who takes decision that a member has defected or not? This decision is taken by the presiding officer. Okay, so the Speaker of the Lok Sabha takes the decision regarding this matter. The presiding officer of the House is the authority who takes final decision on all such cases. His decision will be final and it cannot be challenged in a court of law. Okay, so and now we will discuss what is defection. On what basis we will say that a member has defected. First of all, if a member remains absent, if a member remains absent in the house when asked by the party leadership to remain present. Party leadership ने कहा कि कोई वोटिंग होनी है and during that you will have all of you have to be present in the house, but a particular member has defied the order of the party leadership and he remained absent, so this will be a case of defection. Then second situation is votes against the instruction of the party. The party has issued a whip that all the members should vote in favor of a mm, particular proposal which is to be presented in the house. But the member uh, votes against the instruction of the party, then in that case it will also be a case of defection. Then one more situation may arise when a member voluntarily leaves the membership of the party, अपने आप वो पार्टी के मेंबरशिप को छोड़ दे रहा है. This is also be a case of defection. So these are the three conditions which comes under defection. So we have experienced from 2003 to 17 years has passed, and this has showed that the anti-defection amendment uh, has not been able to curb defection, because at the time of election, before election, after the announcement of the election, anti-defection law does not apply. And in that period, defection takes place at very large scale. And it has given very additional power to party leadership as well as the presiding officer. So, still, it is helpful. We can say our experience has shown that it is helpful in curbing the defection, but not to completely it has curved the problem. Now we will discuss some of the uh, some of the cartoons of the chapter. Okay. Uh, so this is just a moment. This is one of the cartoon in which we are seeing that these are the parliamentarians and they are saying that walkout nahi out kiye gaye hain. These are the media persons and they are thinking that these members of the parliament belong to opposition party and they have walked out from the house in protest, but actually they have not been walked out, they are not walking out, but they have been ousted from the house by the speaker because of indecent behavior and indiscipline they have shown in the house. So this shows the power of the presiding officer. Okay. Now this is one more picture. In this we see that there are it is 50 years of parliament, and in these 50 years we see that how many times walkout has been done by the parliamentarians, and this walkout is a tool which is used by the by the opposition party to express their dissatisfaction, to express their protest against the government. But because of this walkout, what happens, the normal functioning of the house disrupts badly, and it should not be used in such a great in such a large extent. So in India, our opposition parties usually uh, use this tool at a very large scale. This should not be overused because it disrupts the functioning of the house, and we have seen that the house has very less time and so many functions is to be done by the house, so the time should not be wasted. And in this cartoon we see that these are the parliamentarians who are holding discussion. Suppose the condition is, what is the condition? A bill is going to be presented in the house, and these two parliamentarians are discussing um, how to make the bill pass. Okay, let's not argue, हम लोग argue नहीं करते हैं. Okay, let's not argue. Let's uh, settle the, just a moment, let's settle the issue थ्रू कंसेंसस. हम लोग आपस में बात कर लेते हैं कि कैसे क्या करना है. यू सपोर्ट द बिल एंड आई विल अपोज इट. सो इन दिस वे वी आर सीइंग दैट everything is staged. The members, some of the members are opposing the bill, some of the members are supporting the bills. So all these things are not happening in a proper manner. Everything is staged. Rules of the game, they are deciding कैसे क्या करना है. So in this way the parliamentarians are misusing their power. Okay. So now there is one more cartoon is there. We will discuss that only. This is these are the parliamentarians. This is our Prime Minister Pandit Nehru, and these are the ministers. And this is parliament. Okay. And in this we see that the parliament is represented by this man, and he is considering the demands which are made by various departments of the government, and now he will take decision that the grant is to be approved or not to be approved. So it is showing the parliament is the all powerful, and these are these ministers and the prime minister are just like we can say beggars. They are asking for the money, asking for the grant, and approval is being given by the parliament. So these are the important figures, important cartoons which need to be discussed. And now this chapter is complete. Okay, so we will now meet tomorrow and discuss a new chapter.